Now, if you did not get remote start from the factory and are looking for some convenience when it comes to your 2018 or newer JL Wrangler with keyless entry and push to start, this remote start will be a great addition. Now, remote start is a great feature to have, especially in the cold or hot months, to warm up or cool down your Jeep before getting in, and that's exactly what this is going to do for you. Now, that will make it perfect if you just want the ease of starting it from a distance, hopping in, and going off to your next adventure. Now, this will work with your factory fob, which makes it nice not having to add an extra device or a key to your keyring. Now, after programming the device, all you have to do is click your key fob with the instructed sequence and your JL will start right up, making this very straightforward and incredibly user-friendly. Now, when it comes to the construction, this is going to be pretty simple and straightforward. This is going to come with the device itself. This is going to be responsible for the functions that this is going to have. You're also going to get all of the wiring harnesses, making install very straightforward when it comes to a plug and play operation. You're going to have a kill or safety switch, and then you're also going to have this updater module here to make sure that everything is up to date when it comes to the programming of this device. Now, the module here will be designed with heavy-duty plastic materials, so you can ensure that this is going to hold up for the long run, and I do like that you are able to update this along the way. Now, I would like to mention that, again, this is only going to be compatible with automatic transmissions as well as push to start vehicles only, so I would just keep that in mind when you are shopping around. When it comes to price, this entire kit is going to come in at roughly $300. Now, when comparing this to some other solutions, some other options may come with additional modules or devices, as where this is going to be simple and plug and play, and it's going to work with your factory key. Now, again, I also really like the fact that this is going to have an updater module. It's something that is included in the kit and is going to keep that creature comfort going for a long period of time when this is installed, so you can continuously update this and live comfortably with this device installed on your Jeep. Not to mention, this is going to, in my opinion, just be worth the price when it comes down to the pure convenience that you're going to get out of this kit. Now, when it comes to the install, this is going to be straightforward, but I am still going to give it a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about an hour to get the job done. Now, speaking of the install, one of our customers here has installed this on their JL and is going to walk you through what that process looks like step by step. So that's going to wrap it up for me. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Pretty basic tools for this installation. Trim removal tool. You can pick up at a local auto parts store. Wire cutter, wire stripper, a crimp tool, T-tops, which I picked up at an auto parts store. If you want to use the parking light feature, and flashlight, obviously, very handy. I'm going to use a trim removal tool. And I'm going to start by removing the headlight switch. I'm going to pop this trim off. And then there's a tab at the top and the bottom side that hold the light switch in place. I'm just going to pry down on these tabs so it pops out. And from the bottom, allow that to pop out. And there's your light switch. There's a red tab. Pull that back and that'll release the plug. For the wiring connection, if you use the optional, it's going to be this back corner white wire with a brown stripe. And it's going to be at the back corner of the plug by the red tab. I'm going to separate that out just so you can see which one it is. It'll be that wire. So for the wire connection I'm going to be making, we're going to use off of this wiring harness that has a bunch of wires when you open it up. The only one you need is the green. The rest can be trimmed back. But I'm going to fish this green wire from underneath up through to the light switch. I'm going to crimp what they call a T-top. So I'm going to clip this wire. I'm going to clip this T-top onto the wire here that I showed you. And then this is going to plug into that on the side, and we're going to make a T-top connection and that'll be for the parking light flash feature when you remote start your vehicle. Next, I'm going to remove this plastic cover around the dash, around the steering column. Just make this a little bit more accessible. Trim removal tool comes in handy. Pry that down. Alright, so part of the instructions is we need to remove the glove box. So there's a tab right here. I'm just going to pry up so it pops. Pull that out of the way. And up top here, I'm going to press up to allow this catch to pass. Allow the glove box to drop down. And you can just remove the glove box and set that out. I'm also going to remove, to make it easy to access the start-stop plugs on the T-Tap cable, I'm going to remove this with the trim removal tool. I'm just going to pop this out. And I'm going to unplug the controls for the climate. And I'm going to unplug the plug here, which is where the T-Tap is going to plug into for the start-stop cable. So I'm going to set this off to the side for now. So eventually this end is going to plug into the automatic start controller. These two ends are going to plug into your CAN ports down here. There's a green CAN port, which the white plug will plug in with the other white plugs. And there's a white CAN port, and your green plug is going to plug in with the other matching green plugs. And you can use any one of the open ports for both the white and the green. So I'm going to attempt to fish these cables down through here. I got one. I'm going to attempt to fish the second one. It's really enough room to get your hand back in here behind from the glove box side. One's a little bit longer than the other to reach. And then I'm going to fish this back through along with the other cable, with the T-Tap cable, down to my controller, which we're going to mount below the steering column. So I'm going to leave these for now. I'm going to leave these down to the CAN ports, and we're going to plug these in before we close the glove box back up. So to make fishing this down through behind the start stop button, or the push button start, I'm going to tape these plugs together just a little bit, just to make it easier to send in through the hole where the push button start is and send down behind there. You want to keep the T-Tap plugs up top. You're going to take this OE male plug, plug it into the female of the T, and then I'm going to keep this male plug of the T to plug back into the start push button. While we have this out, I'm also going to take these cable that plugs into the data port, and I'm going to fish that down through as well. When we're done, I want to have all our cables down below the steering column, because that's where I want to mount the remote start controller. But before we put the glove box back in, we need to plug these plugs into the CAN. And tuck the cable underneath, out of the way. And this is going to plug into the first port here, green with the green plugs. And then we're going to tuck this one back out of the way. I'm going to, just to keep it out of the way, I'm going to run it underneath and plug the white in with the other white CAN plugs. They're both connected, both tucked out of the way. Now we can put our glove box back in. All right, so we're gonna put the glove box back in, line the tabs up at the bottom. Going past the catch up top, and then line up the stopper on the side and just press down till it clicks. And your glove box is back in, cables are finished. And we're gonna plug in our start stop. We have our T-tap plugged together, tucked back in. And I'll plug the male from the T cable back into the start button. And plug this plug back into the AC control. And then this will just snap back into place. Just like that. Alright, so on this wiring harness, I'm only using this green. The rest of these I'm going to trim back a little shorter so they're out of the way. And on this green cable, I'm going to put the first part of the T-tap crimp onto the end of it. I suppose you could probably just strip out a little bit and wrap the cable on and tape it, or I'd prefer not to cut the cable and splice it. I'd rather use a T-tap which just crimps onto the side. I put a plug on the end of that cable. I'm gonna fish that. Would attempt to from up underneath the steering column. And now on the side of this cable here, I'm going to use the other part of the T-tap crimp. I'm just going to clip it onto there, and this snaps shut over the wire. And now you've made your wire connection. And this is just going to plug in onto the side of that. Now you have your lights will flash when you start this. So now that we have that tapped on for the parking lights, I'm going to plug this back into our light switch. Lights are back on. Snap that back in. Snap the bezel back on. That part's finished. Alright, so ready for step 3. The T-harness has been connected to the push start, and the remote start module is ready to be programmed. So we're going to press and hold the button. We're going to plug in the 4-pin cable on the back, and the lights are flashing alternating colors. And when the light is completely blue, I'm going to release the button. And the light will stay solid blue. So now that the light is solid blue, we're going to plug in the remaining connectors. And it's important to remember when you go to unplug them later on, this cable gets unplugged last. It's an important part of the steps. I'll plug in the white connector, plug red into red. The short cable that ran over to the data can. In my opinion, they made about 12 inches too short. Or maybe it's because I tucked slack in so it was out of the way of the glove box. But either way, we're going to plug all those cables in. Just remember, after this step, we're going to unplug this cable last. So unplug these two and the big plug first before disconnecting this. So now that these are all plugged in, the instructions say do not press the brake pedal. Press the start button twice to turn the ignition on. I'm going to now that the ignition's on, we're going to press and release the programming button one time. The blue light will turn off and then it'll begin flashing rapidly. Press the start button once to turn the ignition off, and the blue LED will turn off. and the red and yellow will start flashing alternating colors like they are. Once you have alternating red and yellow LEDs, unplug all the connectors and make sure to unplug the black 4-pin plug last. So in the same order we connected them, I'm going to unplug the short white plug, the red plug, the big white plug, and I'm going to plug this black plug last because that's powering the relay. So this is step 3 of the programming. Alright, so we're going to plug the module now into the computer through the flash link which came with the kit. Red light illuminates. And we're going to have the Jeep 2019 Wrangler push to start. And it says don't change any of these settings. Although we have a built-in alarm system, so I'm going to change that to built-in alarm system. And we're going to load the settings. I'm going to go to the decryptor tab, transfer key data. We're going to go to send data, and it's going to send data now. And it's sampling the key that it picked up in the programming process from the vehicle, and it's being analyzed by the decryptor now. It's generating the key code, and it says this may take a few minutes. Process is complete. Module's been updated, is ready for use. You can now disconnect the module and reinstall it in the vehicle. Alright, so the key's been uploaded into the module. We're going to plug in the power plug first. And don't hold any button down when you reconnect these. I'm going to follow the same sequence. Plugging in the big white plug next. Followed by the red plug. Followed by the plug that they made too short. They've all been reconnected. I'm going to go ahead and close the door, and we're going to test this before we close everything back up. It's very important with the sequence. We're going to hit lock, unlock, lock, and don't press the buttons too fast. So from the direction it says lock 1000, unlock 1000, lock 1000. Easy as that. I'll try to find a decent place to zip tie these cables together and tuck this start module up into the dash. Zip tie these cables together out of the way. I'll find a place to secure this to the frame underneath here. You know, they say just to make sure you have a good spot that's out of the way of when you adjust the steering column so you don't pinch the wires or anything, but I think we're fine zip tied to the back side of the metal frame here. I'm just going to leave this tucked up inside like they recommend. And we're going to put this back in place and we should be good to go.
Wrap it up for my review and the install of this remote start, fitting all automatic 2018 and newer JL Wranglers with the keyless entry and push to start. And for all things Jeep, remember to keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.